Welcome, everybody, to another episode of My Child, My Voice Kid Konnection show, brought to you by the National Parents Union. My name is Miss Wendy, and I am so excited about today's show. As I mentioned on last week's episode, we are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. And because of that, the book that we're reading today, I'm so excited to be reading about it because it's called Turning Pages, My Life Story by Sonia Sotomayor. She is actually an American justice. We will talk about her, a Supreme Justice. We will talk about her in a little bit more. But just to remind you, our snack of the day is going to be an American flag toast snack. That's what I'm holding up here today. I figured if we're going to read about the life story of Sonia Sotomayor and about the importance of reading books, we got to feed our brain. So I think a great snack would help complement that. So we are going to go back and we're going to read our story of the day. I'm going to put the snack back down and show you how to make that in a few minutes. I'm going to disappear so that we can start our story of the day. Of course, I still have my little Selena up there because I'm a huge Selena fan. And we are going to start reading. Called Turning Pages, My Life Story by Sonia Sotomayor, illustrated by Lulu Delcres. And let me make this a little bit bigger so Miss Wendy can actually read this. And also that you can see these beautiful, vibrant colors that are in this book and the illustrations. So it says, my story is a story about books, of poems and comics, of law and mystery, of science and science fiction, written both in Spanish and English. Even though I was born and grew up in New York City, Español, Spanish, was the language we spoke at home, the language of Puerto Rico, the island where my family came from. I struggled to learn English. Balancing two languages in my head wasn't always easy, but books made learning fun. Reading was like lighting candles, each book a flame that lit up the world around me. What was so special about books? Do written words have a unique magic? At each step in my life, I would put together the answers like pieces to a puzzle. My first memory of the power of words came from my abuelita, my beloved grandmother. Every Saturday, my aunts and uncles and cousins would gather for a party at her home. After we ate dinner, the crowded little room would get quiet. Abuelita would close her eyes and recite poems written long ago about the tropical island our family had left behind. The words she spoke sent a charge through the room and sparked memories of her faraway island home. I didn't know how to read yet, but written words, I discovered, were electrical currents that jolted feelings to life. When I was 7, I got sick and I was diagnosed with diabetes. I was so afraid of the big needle used to take my blood for testing at the hospital that I ran outside and hid under a parked car. I also learned that I would get shots every day to stay alive. All those needles were scary. I found my courage in an unlikely place, comic books. After reading stories of regular people who had secret superpowers that could save the world, I imagined being as brave and powerful as they were. Then I learned how to get myself the shots, and in time, I got used to it. Books, it seemed, were magic potions that could fuel me with the bravery of superheroes. And see, she has the Justice Leagues of America, and here she is pretending to be a superhero, and she's flying. I may have been inspired by Supergirl, but I still needed to use an airplane if I wanted to fly. When we took trips to the cold concrete streets of the Bronx to the sunny Puerto Rico, I ate fresh mangoes that had just fallen off the trees, sipped juices straight from the coconut, and marveled at the simmer of tiny glowing creatures in the bay of night. But my favorite time was siesta at my aunt's home in Mazaquin. At lunchtime, we feasted on rice and beans and chicken spice with sofrito, a delicious mixture of tomatoes, onions, garlics, and peppers. Then bellies stuffed full, all my aunts and uncles and cousins would settle down for a nap in the peaceful quiet of a hot afternoon. Their nap time was my reading time. I had my trusted books to keep me company. Books were my loyal friends. They made it so I never felt lonely. When I was 9 years old, my father, Papi, who had been sick for a long time, passed away. I felt sad and confused, and my home was filled with gloom. I discovered a place where I could feel comfort. All summer long at the nearby Parkchester Library, I walked through the aisles and touched the musty volumes until one book after another caught my eye. I read as many books as I could. I wanted to read them all. I was lucky to have a library that was in my neighborhood, walking distance from home. For hours, I could sail away to the wondrous lands and the stories I would choose from the stacks. The library was my harbor, and the books were little boats that helped me escape sadness at home. Leaving home, though, was the farthest thought from my mind the day a delivery man rang our apartment doorbell, hauling two huge, heavy boxes. "What's inside?" my brother, Juan, and I asked, and Mommy, my mother, told us to look. Tearing open the package tape, we discovered an entire encyclopedia. They were 24 massive books, each unraveling secrets about the world, from the tiniest atoms to the tallest mountains, from the hottest deserts to the frozen tundra. Mommy had created a library in our very own home. Every time I opened a volume, I learned new words and ideas. They were miracles of life, taking me places in our bodies and outside in the world around us. And I started to think more about my place in it. I felt like a deep sea diver exploring mystery depths. Books were my snorkel and flippers, helping me get there. Back on the land, Nancy Drew, the young girl detective hero in a dozen books, fired my imagination. Her make-believe life was so different from mine. She lived in a big house on a tree-lined street and partnered with her dad, a successful lawyer, to solve crimes. Despite our differences, I would doze off, picturing myself in Nancy's shoes. Could I figure out mysteries too? Books were a time machine, inspired me to imagine what would be when I grow up. When we moved to a bigger apartment in the Bronx, our new home wasn't anything like Nancy Drew's, but Juan and I did finally get our own small rooms. It was really just one larger room divided by a thin wall, but we each got to decorate our rooms. I chose wallpapers with pictures of the constellations in the sky. I love reading science fiction books about journeys into deep space, time travel, and encounters with aliens. Even more amazing, real-life astronauts had just landed on the moon. They left behind a gift of words, messages of peace from the countries back on Earth. I read everything I could about the moon landing. Even that was possible. Then anything I could imagine was possible too. Books were my launch pad, blasting me straight into my dreams. As I got older and read more, my future slowly started to take shape, like a ball of clay that you would carefully sculpt into a finger with your fingers. In high school, my teacher assigned my class a book about boys on a deserted island who went wild because there was no rules. The boys hurt each other in the chaos of a land without laws. This book opened my eyes. I saw why we needed laws and rules to feel safe, so that people had the freedom to grow and flourish. I did not yet know I would end up working in law as a lawyer and later as a judge, but I was learning why laws mattered. Books were lenses bringing into focus truth about the world around me. The Bible, a special book was studied at my Catholic high school, taught me lessons about how to treat my neighbors. In one story, Jesus was approached by a crowd ready to punish a woman who had done wrong. Instead, Jesus challenged him, saying, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her." His claim, powerful words, made people think. Slowly and silently, the people let her be and went home. I learned that we shouldn't be so quick to judge people who do the wrong things. Sometimes we make mistakes that can hurt someone else, but that doesn't make us bad people. It might just mean that we have to say we're sorry, put things right, and try harder. Books were teachers, helping me sort out right from wrong. When I started college at Princeton University, the tree-lined path and old stone buildings looked very different from my neighborhood in the Bronx. I was excited to be there, but I was homesick. Sometimes I felt like I was drowning in everything I didn't know. I quickly discovered the massive Firestone Library, where I could find books on everything. It was so much bigger than my neighborhood library. I would study for hours to catch up. I even improved my writing using grammar books. Books became my life preserver, keeping my head above water. All that reading taught me the furthest reaches of the planet and even about the little island close to my heart, Puerto Rico. I read about men and women who worked hard but were paid very little. I read about how Puerto Rico became part of the United States of America. Just like in the books, my grandfather worked in a cigar factory and got sick from the dust, and my aunt spent long days stitching handkerchiefs. Like many of the Puerto Ricans, we came to New York. Miami had a hard life. She studied for years to become a nurse and was able to skimp and save so that her kids, Juan and I, would have a brighter future. Reading had long taught me about the world outside. But now I was seeing in the books a reflection of the lives led by my own family. Books were mirrors of my very own universe. When I became a lawyer, I used cases in law books to convince judges that people on the trial were innocent or guilty, how they had done right, and where they had done wrong, had gone wrong. Just as my own family story was mirrored in history books about Puerto Rico, I saw that law books reflected real-life stories of people who got into trouble but still needed to be treated fairly in court. Law books were maps to guide us to justice. Can you see they have the signs? Justice for all. Justice means treating people fairly under the law. It also is the name of what I am now, an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. As a justice, I study the most important words in American law, the founding document of our government, the Constitution of the United States, and decided which laws agreed with it. Every day, I borrow from the lessons of law books of the past and write decisions and opinions that we be bound into law books for the future. Books are the keys that unlock the wisdom of yesterday and open the doors to tomorrow. Flame, electricity, magic potion, friend, boat, snorkel, time machine, launch pad, lenses, teacher, life preserver, mirror, map, key. The written words have been all of these things to me and more for as long as I can remember. Like flagstone on a path, every book I've ever read took me in the next step I needed to go in school and in life, even if I didn't know exactly where the trail would lead. Piece by piece, my puzzle came together. Where will your journey lead you? And there is Sonia Sotomayor. And that's the end of story time. And what I love about this book that actually, Sonia Sotomayor wrote is she gave about each story of books that she read in her life. And what I love about this on the back of it is a timeline of her life. From June 25th, 1954 is when she says her birthday was in the Bronx. And it takes you all the way back till now. We're on August 8th, 2009, where she says, I was sworn in to the 111th Justice of the Supreme Court. But what I like above it, it says May 26th of 2009, President Barack Obama nominated me to be the United States Supreme Court Associate Justice. That is wonderful to read about her history and her life of what she went through and all her accomplishments. She graduated from Cardinal Spellman in high school. In 76, she graduated from Princeton University. 79, she graduated from Yale Law School. And in 1979, began her work as an associate district attorney in New York County. In 1984, joined the law firm of Privy & Harcourt. And then in 1992, became a United States District Court judge for the Southern District of New York. And then in 1998, joined as a judge of the United States Courts of Appeal for the Second Circuit. So this is really great to learn about her life history and everything that she put in, from her family, her childhood to her family's, to her education, and how books led her to where she is today. And if you really read the back of the book, I owe much to the children who taught me the hugging is important to being happy. This book was made possible by the collaboration of Ruby Shamar, who helped capitalize and bring it to life. My dear friend Zara helped to ensure my voice came through clearly. And I mean, she written a lot of stuff here that she's dedicating this. So I hope that you've enjoyed this story time here. And I'm going to move this back here so that we can, so I can stop sharing. Hi, everybody. I'm back. I just need to move my camera a little bit here. And I hope you enjoyed story time. That was really fun to read about the Supreme Justice. And now what we're going to start is our snack of the day, the American flag toast snack. And I wanted to bring this up because a lot of times as we're reading books, we're feeding our brain by reading the books, but we need to feed our mouths while we're reading. And when my kids used to come home from school, I always had a snack that they would make, and we would always do different types of snacks in our home. So I hope you enjoy this snack in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. So I'm going to move my camera so we could start our snack for the day. So I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to tell you what all that we need to know, or what supplies that you're going to need for our American flag toast. So what you're going to need is a piece of bread. Mine is toasted, white bread, whatever type of bread you have at home. I went ahead and toasted that already. You're going to need some cream cheese, just plain cream cheese. You're going to need some fresh strawberries. I'm going to put this to the side because I'm running out of room. And you're going to need some blueberries. And the thing that you're also going to need the most is you're going to need a knife. So if you have an adult in your family, make sure they're with you to help you do the snack of the day. And then also what I do recommend is I always put on something so I don't get myself dirty. I have my apron that I'm putting on right now so that I don't get myself all messy. And yes, my apron is of Day of the Dead, which we'll be talking about in October, and we'll tell you more. I will tell you more about that. So how do we get started? You're going to get your cream cheese, and we're going to spread the cream cheese on your toast. And you're going to use plain cream cheese because we're making this kind of like the American flag, and so it needs to be white in the background. So that's why we're doing this. But a little secret that I could tell you too is if you want to make it just a little bit more tasty, once you're done spreading the cream cheese on your toast, you can also sprinkle a little bit of sugar, whether it be sprinkles that you have at home. Sometimes you may have some blue sprinkles or red sprinkles, whatever color, or just plain old sugar. And if you just sprinkle on top of the cream cheese, it'll give it just a little bit more flavor. And there's the white piece. So I'm going to put this to the side. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my toast, and I'm going to bring my cutting board over here so that you can see. I did 2 cutting boards, but strawberries can be messy, so make sure you have a cutting board that you're going to cut. I'm going to open my strawberries, and I have my knife, and I'm just going to cut slices like this and my strawberries. Make sure you wash your strawberries first. Mine are already washed before I even had this to the side. And then this is what I did. Now you can keep them round, but I like cutting them in half to go on my toast because it gives me more. And you can keep the little ones there. And then you can cut probably 2 strawberries. So you can use them whole, or you can use them and cutting them in half. I cut mine in half. It kind of lays that there. So I'm going to move this to the side and then bring back my toast. And now this is where I have to arrange it towards me so I know where I can see it. And I'm going to take my strawberries. And what you want to do is you want to get your smallest slices. And what I did is I started here. First row, okay? Now you want to get your blueberries. And mine, I wash them and I put them back in the basket. And you just set them, I set them on the left side, similar to the flag. And I tried to put 5 blueberries. Try to find the smallest blueberries, but mine are pretty big this year. And there you have your blueberries. Now we're going to go back to the strawberries. And we're going to line them up in line. That's okay if it's sticking out. And you keep going. Line. Line. And you can put it on top. I like putting it on top. Kind of like the American flag. You have your stripes. See how it's coming together? I'm going to put my last row of strawberries. And there you have your American flag toast snack. And like I said, you could sprinkle some sugar, or if you have some other sprinkles that are different colors and make it look like, fireworks are on top of your toast. And then that makes, so remember, you put your strawberries in a line to make a stripe pattern with the strawberry slices going across the toast as shown right here. And then I use my blueberries as part of like the stars. Place 5 blueberries in the top left corner to represent the stars. Oops, if it doesn't move. And like I said, put some sprinkles on there. It gives you a really good flavor and taste. I hope you enjoy. Let me move back here. I hope you got to enjoy. I got to be careful because I just made this. Our snack of the day, which is the American flag toast. I hope you get to enjoy that, as well as our story, the book of the day, Turning Pages, My Life Story by Sonia Sotomayor. As I mentioned, it is Hispanic History Month, so I hope you enjoyed this book and why we brought this up. Hispanic History Heritage Month is celebrated from September 15th to October 15th. So here on Kid Konnection, we will continue to talk about Latinos figures in history and in time who have made changes, and make sure you catch that on our next segment because we're going to be talking about more people on Hispanic Heritage Month. I hope you enjoyed our our snack of the day, as well as our story of the day. Catch us next week for another story of story time right at your home. This show is brought to you by the National Parents Union. I hope you have a wonderful week. If you have any questions, please reach me at wendy@npuunion.org. Everybody have a great day. Mwah. See y'all next week. Bye now.